Hello, pursuers. Welcome to another episode of the Pursuit of Happiness podcast. I am your podcast host, Naz Kazemi. Let's get into it. Now, if you're new here, also, welcome to the Pursuit of Happiness podcast. This is where I break down reality TV, relationships, real life psychology, because honestly, it's just never about the show. ADHD, so I like to jump from topic to topic, but my guilty pleasure are the housewives. And reality TV. A lot of more housewives, but reality TV. So I like to break it down and see how it relates to my life, real life, and all the other fun things. So let's get into it. Today I'm going to start off with Atlanta. I'm going to recap a little bit of Atlanta, what I've seen the past two episodes. I'm going to recap Rhode Island, and then I will finally give my thoughts on the Beverly Hills reunion part 3. Okay? So let's get into Atlanta. Now it starts off where Adrian Malouf is in the meeting with Cynthia and Phaedra, and I'm just not sure why Phaedra was there. Was it for moral support for Cynthia? Because I'm not too sure how involved she was in the tequila. Did I miss something? I wasn't sure. When we get to the plane scene, we're all kind of getting ready to go to Dallas on the private jet, and on the plane, I think Pinky's being so honest, chatting with Shamea, Kelly, and Angela about her bankruptcy. She's saying that she has 7 businesses that get paid, but she doesn't pay herself. So that's why she's filing a personal bankruptcy, so it doesn't affect her businesses. And then once she's filed the personal bankruptcy for what she owes, because it's showing that she doesn't have income, so that's kind of where the difficulty comes in. But regardless, she can start fresh again, start paying herself. Angela also, this is where Angela and her kind of bond. Angela says that she also has to do the same thing so that she could avoid foreclosure on one of her homes. Like I think 2 ended up in foreclosure, and then to avoid foreclosure on a third one, she had to file for bankruptcy. She lost $2 million because of those foreclosures and how she invested her own money on the houses that she couldn't sell. So, I think that this was such a great bonding moment. It's real life women discussing their business and their ventures. I've said this before, I really love Pinky and I really love Angela. And one thing I do appreciate about both of them in this moment, being honest, is that businesses go through stuff like this. Anyone that's an entrepreneur that owns a business, whether it's a big corporation or just, a small mom and pop shop or whatever, you are going to have people that are not going to be happy, that are going to write bad reviews, that are going to want to sue you, that are going to, file liability, civil suits against you. And that's just part of being a business owner, whatever your business is, from restaurants to dry cleaning to real estate. And that's why typically you have insurance for your business, and some even lawyers. So this is nothing new. If you're part of the business world or corporate world, whether you are working for someone or working for yourself, you know that this is just part of it. So on my feed and my algorithms, I'm not seeing a lot of people kind of getting on them, but I do love that they're both boss bitches. They're talking about stuff like this. If you notice, a lot of other housewives franchises or just reality shows in general, unless they're business reality shows, more centered around business. For example, and even then, it's a bad example, but just for example, Selling Sunset. They're going to talk more about the glamour side of things, but really there's a dark side of owning businesses as well. I like when they can kind of focus on both, because then it gives a little bit more reality to the reality TV, moving forward, one part I did love was when K. Michelle says that all men cheat. Her man doesn't have social media, but those guys are the most sneaky of all because no one can contact them that you know of anyways, and that made me laugh. I love that she said that. I mean, this is the guy that she married really quick, but she's known for so long, and then they kind of separated because he wasn't quick on the making her his wife. And they got back together and they sort of had a really quick wedding. But that's my motto too. All men cheat. I've been single my whole life, never married. Well, I know I'm sorry. I've had boyfriends. I'm just saying I'm single now, never been married. I don't know if I'm ever gonna get married. Like as soon as someone shows a little bit of interest, I'm just like, oh, I just get the ick so quick. And I think it's part of my age. I keep hoping that, not hoping, it's not like I go every day, but I'm like, if the one comes in, I'm going to know. Haven't found him yet. Maybe I'm just in the wrong place. Maybe I live in the wrong place because none of the guys here are so ick. But anyways, that's my motto. And I love that she's openly saying it about her man as well. I also like people with no social media, but they're right. Those are the ones that we don't. Because how can we go in their DMs and check? Like we just can't, you know. Maybe go through their texts, but that's a whole other level of crazy. I'm not getting in right now. Then on the limo bus, K. Michelle says that Black hit on her before via social media. So when she saw him at Portia's dinner in episode 1, the greeting was really warm, and Drew kind of acknowledged that. So yeah, it seemed like the way that you guys spoke to each other, you guys knew each other. Okay, great. Now I don't like how Shamea is constantly acting with it showing off her butt and having her vagina open at the truck stop like she's straddling something. Like, A, girl, you have a husband. And B, he's a very conservative guy. Like, you can tell. He doesn't really joke on camera. He doesn't even, like, it seems like being much on camera. Like, he'll be there to support her and to show, like, yes, she has a husband, but he's not really, like, the one to really want that attention. And whereas she's kind of opposite. I know opposites attract, and I'm sure he loves her, but I'm just saying, like, out of respect for that partnership, like, the way she acts, and it just doesn't look classy. It's distasteful, and I'm not sure about really Shamea at all this season, to be honest. Like, she hasn't really shown much other than her body parts and how she can move them, you know? So they get to Texas, and Cynthia has this beautiful home because, you know, they're on the trip to Texas because Cynthia is doing the tequila partnership with Adrian Malouf. They're at an Airbnb called Casa de Fe. That's the home that they're staying in Texas, and it's beautiful. It's gorgeous. It's huge. I'm from Canada, and we all see the TikToks and the Instagrams. Texas is one of the states that they don't charge, I believe it's income tax. One thing I know for sure is it's only one tax, and you get so much more for your money. Like, I know so many people from Canada that even moved to Florida or to Texas because of the one tax, because of the weather, because you get so much more. Like, the homes that you get for almost like close to $500,000, you get a little crack shack in downtown Vancouver or in the surrounding areas of Vancouver, and like you need to put another $500,000 in it to fix it up. You know, you don't get all that land. You're tightly wound up with somebody in like a little lot. Like, it's just, our city's in a crisis, but that's another topic for another day. Just like any other housewife franchise, they're fighting and comparing rooms. Okay. Now we get it. You're all rich. You can all get a big ass hotel if you wanted to, but for the sake of your job, you know, being a housewife and the TV show, please just make it work. Like, it's only for a couple days, and it's not like it's the home in Colorado that Angel had with no water. Although that house was stunning and beautiful, and no shade to Angel, it's just it had no water. Like, that's kind of big, you know. But yeah, it's just, talk about being privileged, you know, like, and I find that, like, with different races, like, sometimes, and I don't know, this might be so off the cuff, sometimes when it's white people, they just kind of accept it. They're like, yeah, we'll just do it. Like, you've seen it all on New York, and let's make it comparative to Housewives. New York and Orange County and, I don't know, Beverly Hills. Like, there's like, okay, whatever, we'll take it. When we go back home, we have our homes. If this was Persians, like you saw with the Valley Persian style, they were bitching about that home in Palm Springs. It's like something happens, and then you see Potomac and Atlanta. Like, it's like with the cultures and the ethnicities, it's like remember Real Housewives of New York when her name is Uba. When she didn't get the room that she wanted, she's like, you know, I grew up so poor and I've worked my ass off to make all this money. You're not going to put me in a small room like this. This is disgusting, you know? It's like, it's almost like they get offended when they don't get nice rooms because of the fact that they feel that they've worked so hard and like they deserve it. And you know what? I guess that's valid. I'm just imagining myself, like, if I was going on an adventure and I wanted to stay in a really nice place and I didn't have it, yeah, I'd probably be pissed. But then on the other hand, if I'm on a TV show, and it's a reality TV show, and you know it's going to make for good TV, you just sort of kind of accept it, which in the end they did, but it didn't come at no cost. So we'll get into that. Now, I just want to shout out Miss Cynthia Bailey. She's looking amazing. I know she's lost weight. I listened to her podcast. She looks fabulous. She was doing Weight Watchers combined with GLPs. I love Cynthia, and I love that she's looking so great, and there's just a lightness to her, and I just love that. Um, we get to Shamea and Kelly. They're acting so honestly like gross. They're acting like spoiled brats. I knew I wasn't liking Shamea this season, and Kelly kind of grew a set of balls this season as well, which I don't like. Honestly, we need Britt Edie back to clock this bitch because I can't stand her this season. Shamea is showing Gerald, which is her husband, her house that she's staying in, and even he's sick of her complaining because he's interrupted her and he said he'll call her back in 2 minutes. Now, it could be the way the production kind of edited it, like in the middle of her talking. But even he's like, girl, grow up. Like, you have all this, like, appreciate, maybe this kind of moment will make her appreciate what she has, but it's just the way she's acting, knowing that it's for a TV show, et cetera, it's just, it's annoying. It's childlike. They're missing the whole point of creating reality TV. At dinner, Pinky says that Shamea, so they all go out for dinner that night, but Shamea and Kelly didn't show up. And K. Michelle. K. Michelle says because her glam hadn't showed up. We'll get into it. But at dinner, Pinky says that Shamea and Kelly are not coming because they're mad that their room is dirty and they haven't had a shower. So it's kind of like they're protesting, That's kind of embarrassing. First of all, did anyone tell Cynthia that the room was dirty so she could have had someone to come clean it? Like, was there a chance for her to know? Or are we just dogpiling? Like, is this now the storyline? Instead, they get petty. And then we find out that Cynthia didn't even know, so WTF. Now, K. Michelle says that she's not coming because her glam didn't show up, but she's still on camera without glam. Like, she's getting recorded and videotaped on camera without glam. So she shows up at the bottle. So she shows up at the pool with a bottle, and the camera was on her, and I'm just so confused. I'm like, wait a minute. I thought that you're upset that you don't have glam. But if you can show up on camera without glam already, what's the difference between going to dinner without no glam? It's not like the girls are like decked to the nines. They just, they're still in the house. There's just a dinner outside on the patio. I didn't understand the reasoning. Like maybe we missed something there, but I don't know. And then again, at dinner, Pinky asks what went into the room selection. Pinky just has a lot of questions, okay? And that's fine. She's curious. And I think that it's valid to be curious. Cynthia said, I gave them the other house because those two are close. And they are. Kelly and Shamea are acting like they're BFFs and they've known each other for like 100 years. Makes sense. I would do the same. Angela said that she went over and talked to them, that they gave the same energy. Like she asked, well, why do you think Cynthia gave you this room? And they're like, because she's friends with frickin' Frack. And they are whack, meaning Cynthia's friends with Phaedra and Portia. She'd rather have Phaedra and Portia there, so she pushed us away because we're not friends with them. Now, production for sure is allowing this type of drama to play out because they're not allowing them to attend the dinner. Now, under my impression of how these housewives are filmed, like typically if there's an event that you have to be at, you have to be there. Like if there's a dinner at the trip that you guys were on, the cast trip, you have to show up for the dinner. But why are they not allowing it? Because, this is going to add drama. I'm sure. Because it's just the stupidest thing to get pissed off about. They didn't let Cynthia know. So she had to find out at dinner because she went over there and chatted with them. It's giving that they're trying to make this a storyline, which they ended up happening. Funny, because on Cynthia's podcast, which is Humble Brag, that she has with Crystal, she said that on Atlanta, if they were fighting about who's late, because they were referring to Beverly Hills and how on Beverly Hills, they made such a big storyline and so many episodes talking about how Dorit is always late, that they would literally be fired. And I totally hear you, Cynthia, because it's boring to talk about shit like that. But unfortunately, instead, what your production crew is doing is allowing the fight to happen that revolves around the rooms that have a little bit of dust on the ceiling. And it's in a very expensive house. Like, they're allowing this to become now like a situation, And that is it's just so weird. Like how, like what they're arguing about. Like people are dying. People are homeless. And I get it. You guys have money. None of it their own though. Shamea and Kelly, none of it is their own. It's their husbands. They're not self-made. But it's just funny. It's just funny, the privilege, Angela calls out Pinky and says, why are you giving Cynthia this energy? Because Pinky came in hot, like in the sense that, and not aggressive. I would never use the word aggressive, but definitely like with interrogation on her mind. And it's not like Pinky chose violence, but Pinky was curious. And I think, let me get into what happened, and then I'll get into where I think Pinky kind of maybe went wrong. I'm assuming in that moment it's because Pinky kept asking questions about the rooms. She's also not in the main house. And Angela told her that you're bringing an energy like you got mad at us for being in the main house. This, of course, initially offends Pinky. Perhaps maybe because she wasn't. She was just simply asking questions. But also because maybe she was, and it triggered her, because she's like, why would this be offensive if I'm just asking questions, Maybe she feels a little bit left out, and that's valid. Again, this, of course, offends Pinky because she replies with saying, like, I don't really know you guys like that. So that's just what I'm trying to figure out as well. We get it. I got it. But then Drew asks, Portia, are you going to talk to Kelly tonight? And Pinky asks Portia, did you say that she sleeps with married men because she said that about you first? Again, you can't be mad at Pinky for asking questions. Pinky is probably closer to Kelly and Shamea, but they're not there at the dinner. So she's just sort of asking questions to get to know them. I think it's the delivery. Like, she's kind of just like coming at them. Like, the conversation doesn't just organically happen and then she slips in like, oh, so, it's more like, well, did you say this? And I get that. And that's fine. Like, I'm okay with that because I know people like that. And I'm kind of like that myself, like very straight to the point. But I think because it's been a series of questions and interrogations to the entire group, it's starting to, the group is probably picking up on an energy that she's coming in with all these questions because she's got them at the back of her mind, and she's asking questions for people that aren't there. Again, you can't be mad at Pinky for asking questions. She's only heard the other girl's side of the story because she's closer to them. She didn't talk behind anyone's back. She's literally asking the questions to the people to their face, to the ladies to their face. They are a group, and I think that's what you're supposed to do in these shows, right? Angela steps up on behalf of the group and says, I'm not sure what the appeal is sleeping with someone's husband. Portia and Kelly she was referring to. But then Portia says there's other things in this group we haven't talked about, and then moves the conversation to Phaedra, saying Pinky eats meat. I'm also not really liking Phaedra this season, but anyways, the flashback shows that Phaedra told Shamea before the vegan restaurant that Pinky had owned a Jamaican restaurant and used to serve meat. So the flashback proved that Phaedra didn't say that. It's Kelly, Pinky's supposed friend, who she's having her back with, to Portia, who said that she was seen eating a steak. So it's Kelly that's spreading this, okay? And I hope that Pinky watches this back or eventually figures it out, because it's just, the anger is directed at the wrong person. Then Portia points out that Angela is looking at Pinky a certain way, and all of a sudden they start getting into being like insecure, and they start attacking each other on their looks. Angela says that Pinky is coming in bothered. Like, she's, again, speaks on behalf of the group and says, like, you have come in hot and bothered. It sort of makes sense when I look at it from Pinky's side, because she was defending her friends initially and then her issue with Phaedra. So she's just asking questions, and if a question is asked back to her, she's reacting to it. I also understand Angela. Angela's just like, whoa, like, this girl came in like with an agenda, like to ask all these kind of like, she steered the conversation a certain way to be able to ask these questions. There was no talk of anybody else but like the issues that are going on. So then again, I understand where Angela's coming from. I think when Angela says that she was bothered, that triggered Pinky again. And that's so sad, because I love Angela and I love Pinky. They were just having a moment on the plane. They shared a moment they had in common about bankruptcy, and then they erupted into nonsense, literally over nothing. I think that, to me, they are so much more alike than they realize, and this is where they probably clash. Because they are so much more alike, their trigger threshold is next to none. So they're going to trigger each other much more easily because they're so much more alike. I hate when my favorites don't like each other or get into it, but even Phaedra says they are the same people in debt. And I laughed out loud. But see, now I don't mean to laugh at the debt part, but they are businesswomen. They can relate. I just think it's ridiculous that it got to this point. Like, it was a heated argument, and people are taking sides now on social media, and, Pinky got clocked, and Angela said this, and they were just calling, apparently Pinky has a wife that lives in the basement, and it's just mean things were said. She called, and then Pinky called Angela Damon. I guess, saying that she was a man, a transvestite. I could see that. I love Angela. She's gorgeous, but I said I could see it. But like, if she was, she'd be a gorgeous one. But she's not. We all know she's not. It's just funny how it went from having a conversation with questions to it just went off, and they both went off the cuff real quick. Like, they both got triggered, Angela and Pinky, so fast that they went to cutting each other pretty deep. I just hope that they become best friends because of this. I really do, because I love them both. Then we get into episode 6, where it's the next day and they're having breakfast, and Shamea's trying to apologize to Drew again. Like, it's constantly about them apologizing to each other, and Drew doesn't approve of Shamea's apology because she says that it was followed up with a... Great. Drew also pointed out that Pinky came in hot. She's like, you came in so hot. And Pinky said, I did, but you know what? It's a new day, and we're just all getting to know each other, so let's just, it's a new dawn, it's a new day. Anyways, Cynthia has a group split up for activities. And then, as they're split up, Portia does say that Pinky's a bit too much. When they're all going off to do their thing. Now, I don't think that Pinky is too much at all. And to be honest, I think that it's a bit offensive, especially as Black women, to label themselves as such, because then it's going to make it okay for other people to say it. And they have worked so hard to get these kind of microaggressions away from the vocabulary of people to just use it so easily. I kind of didn't like that. I am also labeled too much, and I'm also labeled aggressive sometimes, and sometimes I just talk with passion. Like, passionate people might come off as aggressive because other people that are not as passionate or as not so expressive might see that as a form of aggression. But aggression typically will lead to a violent situation, And to say someone that's too much or that's excited or that is passionate that they're aggressive, you change the whole mood and their whole perception of who they are. You take something that they're very excited about or that they're very passionate about or that they are very in conversation about and aware in that moment and how they're very present. You take that energy of that and you make it into as if they're about to burst out into a violent act, and that's not cool either for anybody, Now, if people are scared, I can see how you can say aggressive, and a lot of people were like, well, yeah, I was scared. Sometimes when people are having a conversation, even the strongest person in the group will just throw it out because they know it's a trigger word. And then, I cannot imagine Portia or Angela being afraid of Pinky. Not because Pinky's not scary, but they're pretty strong women themselves. So why use that word aggressive? It made no sense to me. Being a bit too much, okay, that makes sense. Even within themselves, even within my own culture, and I'm Persian, having these microaggressions, it allows other people to say it too. I just didn't like that because I get called out as well. It was probably a bit triggering for me. Now, in the Sprinter van, Cynthia went off on Kelly and Shamea, and thank God, because I'm Team Cynthia. Why are Kelly and Shamea even on the show? They're the real freaking frat. They think that they're more classy than everybody else, spreading their legs, running around, not showing up for dinner. They don't even act classy. Shamea has her legs open in a straddle position most of the time. She's showing her ass off to executives while she's married to a conservative man at home. Kelly is just different. She wants to act like she's got millions of dollars in her bank account, but we all know she's drowning in debt and lawsuits. And just, there's no authenticity. There's no realness. It's all covered up with jokes and disses, and I don't like it. I'm not a fan of either of them. So I'm going to be Team Cynthia on this. Cynthia says, you guys keep bringing up the same thing over and over again. I said that I would deal with it. At least allow me to deal with it first and then have an opinion. Agreed, Cynthia. Clock it. Then at lunch, when Cynthia's talking to Pinky, she's saying that she came to the table pretty hot last night because she came in curt, talking about the girls not liking their rooms. Because Pinky was like, oh, so you thought I was aggressive? Or I think it was Drew that said aggressive. Again, that word. Cynthia says curt, which is a little bit more... It makes a little bit more sense. So let me explain why. So I pulled up the meaning of curt, and let me just explain it, okay? Use your expressed in few words in a way perceived as rude. Okay? It's an adjective. Curt. Now, let me just be clear with something. Did Pinky come in aggressive? Or did Pinky come in a bit rude? A bit hot? Because I think when people say you came in a bit hot, it means that you've come in a bit curt, which is, I'm glad that I found that meaning too, because I don't think it's a synonym for aggressive, but let's see. So now I'm looking up aggressive. Okay, here we go. Ready or likely to attack or confront. Characterized by or resulting from aggression. Okay, that's also an adjective. Similar meanings to aggressive would be hostile, belligerent, antagonistic. These are very different than it being curt. So I'm going to go back to curt, and I'm doing this all while I'm on the podcast with you guys. I was about to say the phone. Curt, the synonyms to curt would be abrupt, blunt. See how it's so different? I think aggression, and because it's triggering me in a way, because I always get called that and I hate that. That is when you really, really, really need to be mindful of the words that you use. And I don't care what culture you are. These are words that can really damage people's characters. It can really hurt their spirit and change their energy forever in a group. And this is why I love Cynthia, because of the way that she carefully chose her words. Because, yeah, it didn't seem like Pinky was about to get up and fight anybody. Was she confrontational? Not at all. She didn't pop up and be like, okay, I need to talk to you. No, it was within conversation. It was with passion. It was with curiosity. It was expressive. And it could have came across as rude or blunt. What did I say earlier? Direct to the point. So much more careful consideration on Cynthia's part for the words that she used. And I admire and appreciate Cynthia for that. Anyways, when Cynthia was talking to Pinky at the table, she said that she had come in curt, talking to the girls about the girls not liking their rooms. And then also, Pinky didn't include the, as Cynthia would say, whole ass conversation that was had between Cynthia with Shamea and Kelly. I just want to reiterate, Drew said aggressive, Cynthia said curt. Now we all know the meaning of curt, right? Now we all know when to substitute it. She opens a conversation. So this is what Cynthia's saying about Pinky. That she opens a conversation. She speaks the whole conversation. And then she wants to close the conversation without anyone else speaking. And Cynthia wasn't having it. Pinky was stuck on the word aggressive that Drew used. I would be too, because I've been accused of that before. And like I mentioned, these are words that us non-Black people are very careful of using, especially as a microaggression to that culture. And then they throw it around to each other so easily and so freely, which is going to make it okay for other people to use. Even me, and I'm not Black, and people say it to me, and I want to that's when I want to get aggressive, you know? It's a word that can make you aggressive. It's a trigger word for sure. Now back at the Airbnb, because they had a few shots too, a couple shots of tequila. I've never seen Cynthia really drink so much. And she was like, another one. And it was Patron. Back at the place, Cynthia and Drew are talking, and they feel like Shamea is still feeling like she's tied to Portia somehow, which is why she's so butthurt about not being in the main house. Like she feels like she needs to be in the main house because Portia is. And Drew says that this is why she covers it up with all her twerking and jokes and weird vagina movements. And I'm glad that I'm not the only one that noticed it. And in fact, Drew clocked it. So I'm not snapping, but clapping my little fingers together as this generation would say, she clocked it. Now the other girls, Angela, Phaedra, Portia, and K. Michelle, they all went horse riding and none of them rode horses. That's just so funny. They all looked like they were about to, but they didn't. They drank some Italian wine in the horse stables. I think that was a beautiful idea, although I'm not sure about the smell and how that would kind of work, but it's a beautiful scenery, you know? I kind of like that idea. It's so Texas. But then at night, they all kind of meet up again to go for dinner. And it was literally the limo ride from hell. Poor Cynthia. Kelly and Portia get into it. It's unresolved issues. They're the only two that haven't had a chance to kind of be face to face. And I feel like that's another reason why Kelly and Shamea don't really show up. Like underlying issue with Portia that they both have that they're trying to sort of avoid. Kelly called Portia Frito cheese pussy, and I was dying because what the hell does that mean? It's giving that song Damn Shorty, you know? And the cover is like the burnt cheese nachos. So weird. If you know, you know. But peep how Shamea said not one word the whole time when Kelly and Portia were going at it. Like you can, she's in the middle. Okay. So it's Shamea in the middle. Kelly on her right, Kelly on Shamea's right side. Pinky on Shamea's left side. And Shamea just sat there so quiet. Pinky sometimes would say something, kind of like laugh out loud about it. Shamea did not laugh. Shamea did not make eye movements. Shamea did not roll her eyes. Shamea stayed so quiet. Now, obviously, Shamea has said things to Kelly. Or else, why is Kelly so comfortable talking all the shit to Portia? I think that they got to this place because Kelly started to feel really comfortable to say things to Portia, feeling as if she's got Shamea's back by doing it. So, okay, if Shamea and her are not friends, let me just say these things, but I think it's not her place. Shamea and Portia's friendship is not a place for people to come in and defend or not defend or anything like that. It's just ridiculous. And I will say it again. I don't like Shamea and I don't like Kelly. And I don't like the way that they're approaching any of these conflicts in the home. They do not know how to conflict resolution. Just wait until they get into it. Let's see how they conflict resolution. These BFFs. Even Angela and Pinky, they got over it quick. I'm sure there might be some residual feelings and some digs thrown. Not maybe by Angela. Angela seems to have moved on pretty quick. But Pinky, of course, like it's going to hurt these feelings, these digs, these things that are said are going to play back. And you're like, why even throw it out there? But they got over it, they moved on, and they know how to kind of make a show, you know? So that's it for Atlanta. Let's get into some Rhode Island. I'm loving Rhode Island. So this is where Kelsey sends a text to everyone and tells them that she broke up with her boyfriend, the long-term boyfriend, guys. And she's moving out soon. So she's broken up with the judge's son, the sugar daddy, so to speak. I'm proud of her because despite all the financials that she was getting, she wants more out of her life. And I love and admire people that can figure this out for themselves, you know, and she's young. I've heard that she's 31. So at 31, she knows that she wants more. And despite having her entire life paid for, she could be sneaking around and making it work so that she has, you know, because it seemed like Billy up until this point doesn't care that she had that guy and him. She could have made it work. She could have banked another 10 more years and saved up or whatever, but out, she wants it out now. And I think that when you're stuck in it for so long, this is why they say money doesn't always buy you happiness, you know? You want more out of life, you know? And that's why sometimes the richest people have the biggest mental health issues because it's like they have everything that they want at their fingertips because money can buy it all. But like sometimes you're just craving that connection. Now, Liz and Alicia have planned a trip to a mansion in Newport. And Rosie sort of admits that she feels anxious whenever she's around the girls because they always say things to her and beat her down every time they're in a group setting. I actually do really like Rosie. She's the one who can trigger the other cast members. Not as a villain, but just kind of like get the ball rolling, you know? And I'm not sure why or how, but she just does it to them. And I think every Housewives franchise needs someone to be able to pull those triggers or those strings to speak. It's not necessarily a force multiplier. I feel like the force multiplier would be Liz, even Alicia. And not a villain, because I feel like the villain could be maybe Joellen, as much as I love her. People could see her as a villain because of what she keeps bringing up. But even maybe perhaps Rula, because Rula is not vibing with the entire cast and keeps herself away from everybody. But with that being said, Rosie's definitely the one that can trigger. She's like the Amanda Francis. She can trigger the group really, really quick and really easy. Hi, there's a scene with Joellen and her sister, and they're pretty much identical. Same mouth, same dimples, same jaw pretty much. Joellen remembers her grandpa, and it brings back memories of her childhood. Joellen feels like her sister is the favorite. Now, I can relate to this as well because my brother is 5 years younger, and he's definitely my mom's favorite. My mom also never shows me love. I ask her to hug me, and that's what I need. And my mom always dismisses my feelings and says, I don't want to, or I don't want to talk about it. If we're having a dinner together and I have to go quickly, let's say take the dogs outside before we eat, or, one peed, and there's a dog that I babysit and sometimes he prematurely pees. He's a Dachshund and I have a Yorkie. And if I'm going to go out to walk the dogs really quick before we start eating, my mom will literally make everyone start eating regardless if I'm there or not. Now, if my brother isn't there or if he's on the phone taking a business phone call, she will not even give us plates. She will not even put the food on the table until my brother is ready. We made plans for Mother's Day with my daughter. My mom on Mother's Day, she woke up and she literally chose violence. She bails on brunch with my daughter and I. And instead she went up to meet with my brother early because they had plans to kind of help in a kitchen in the afternoon. But instead they met up earlier than they were supposed to. And my mom left me and my daughter. And I'm a mom. She will tell things to my granddaughter like, this is all your mom's fault, or don't be like your mom. And then she will tell me things like, if your daughter gives attitude or anything, I'm going to put her in her place so she learns her lesson. Like, my curiosity is, why would you want to one-up a 12-year-old? Like, how narcissist or angry are you that you want to prove to a 12-year-old that you can hold the upper hand and that she shouldn't be doing that? And that you can always put her in her place. Like, that, first of all, that's my kid. And if anyone's going to teach her not to give attitude, that should be me. But I could never look at my daughter and be like, I'm going to show you. I'm so much more lenient than my mom was. My mom was abusive emotionally, mentally. I cannot look at my daughter. I tell my daughter everything. My daughter knows everything at the age of 12. My mom was just a caretaker. She just took care of me. She kept me fed and we had a roof over our heads, She always makes plans with my daughter without asking me for permission. Like, trust me, I understand. I always thought that I had daddy issues, but I actually really have mommy issues. Again, my mom was a caretaker, but she was never a mother to me. She didn't teach me about periods or boys or friendships or life or taxes or how to cook or how to clean. She literally just kept me fed and kept a roof over my head. And as soon as she found a man to take care of her, because she was in a physically abusive relationship with my dad, she left our home and left me with my dad and my brother, and then went to go live with her boyfriend. And really, it was the streets that taught me about drugs, boys, sex, tampons, and I still struggle in relationships today. I can't have a man for too long because of all the fear and shit talk that she would put into my head. Men are like this, men cheat. And, I think that they do. I ended up being an escort for many years in my 20s. I was an addict, full on. I'm clean and sober now over 5 years, but it's my second time getting clean and sober. Like, I don't even smoke pot. That was actually my drug of choice. But I'm just saying, like, the streets taught me about everything, My mom would tell me that once I get a good job, I would never have to work hard again. But that is so wrong. Like, that's such a bad core value to put into people because that's so incorrect. Because as soon as you do have a great job or a career, you have to work twice as hard and must keep working twice as hard to progress and to continue learning. My brother, who's younger, 5 years younger than me, that I've said this before, will tell you that I'm the one who encouraged him to go to university. He was on the brink of not going. His grades were barely there. I'm the one that forced him in grade 12 because I was already out. Look, get your grades right. You're going to go to university. There's going to be parties because he was a partier, and he was like into drugs and shit, quite young. So I was like, the parties in university will be much more awesome. Like, that's how I encouraged him because, you got to relate to them, right? He ended up going and he graduated with a bachelor's. But no one encouraged me. I had zero encouragement. I'm almost 42 years old and I'm going back to school now to finish off my bachelor's because I finally became secure enough and encouraged myself. And wow, that was such a tangent, but I'm just saying I could not relate more to Joellen. I do love my mom. I'm staying with her right now with my daughter. But I also understand that she's repeating a cycle that she experienced. And people might ask, well, then why do you stay with her? I just moved back into the country moving out of the country. Her house is close to my daughter's. She's also, I can help her financially. Like, I'm not the richest at the moment, but I can kind of support. Even right now, I'm recording this podcast and she's out there cooking and she's trying to be so loud. And we've told her, like, don't be loud. But if she's on the phone with somebody, we could not make a sound if she's on the phone. But like, they never take me seriously. And I look at my daughter, and I could never sell out my daughter like that. And I feel like I'm kind of broken the generational. My brother even sees it, like, I've broken it with my daughter. And people might be like, well, you don't know your daughter, you don't know. At 12 years old, I was dying. I was praying that I could go sleep over at people's houses just so I wouldn't have to be at home. My daughter, she hates leaving me. She's like, no, I want to stay with my mom. I'll go hang out with them, but I don't really want to sleep over, Mom. I want to come back home with you. Like, to me, that's success. That's like breaking a generational curse that might have been handed down to my mom, but I changed it. Like, to have my kid want to stay with me when I could not wait to get the fuck away from my own mom. I know that I've done something different, and I could never try to make her feel smaller just to prove to her who's the boss. My daughter's my boss. I mean, I am the boss. She knows that. But, like, I've structured my life in a way so that I can raise her to be a good adult. I'm not raising a kid. I'm raising an adult. And why would I want to shatter her confidence just to prove that she can't give me attitude? Because I can give her more attitude. Like, but my mom would do it to me. So was this scene with Joellen and talking about her mom relatable? Absolutely. Absolutely it was. The things that they put us through might be a bit different, but absolutely. Anyways, they show up at Newport. They have lunch with Alicia's dolls. Hilarious. If this was any other franchise, you guys, this person with the dolls would get shot on. Alicia, no. So they're having tea with the dolls. Rula still hasn't showed up. Kind of rude. Obviously, production is allowing it. She must have a really good excuse, because isn't she part of the cast getting paid as a full-time housewife? But she's been there like 4 episodes. Liz has also planned a masquerade dinner. The analogy is that they reveal something behind the mask that will make them come closer together. It sounds like trauma bonding, revealing your traumas to get to know each other better and bond by each other's worst moments in your life. But we'll see. Sounds like a good idea. Now, everyone sees the mask, but behind the mask is something that you don't want shown. Joellen really reveals about her childhood trauma, that her mom would send her away to behavioral programs. Think Bad Baby on Dr. Phil. She was shipped off to a bad kids camp, and in Joellen's eyes, she was just being a teenager. I feel the same way. Honestly, I want to get away from my mom so bad. If she had sent me to that, it would have been fucking heaven. Okay? Anyways, Liz says that she's experienced loss from her mom passing at a young age, so she's afraid of losing people. Ashley, poor Ashley, always crying. Ashley's crying because she hasn't experienced anything, but she's afraid of experiencing it someday, and it will hit her like a bag of bricks, ton of bricks. She said something like that. That was nice to share. You know, it was honest. Rosie says that she has a lot of anxiety and she's actually quite shy. She's really good at being in front of the camera because she knows how she has to be to say the right things and to kind of portray this facade. But it's not like she's fake. It's just, you know, a much more like dramatic person, you know, a little bit more performative, but not fake. But I think that it's called being a people pleaser. You know, you always got to kind of make sure that the people are happy. So you put your own feelings aside. You're like, yeah, of course. Oh my God. Yeah. But I think fake would be if you're lying about things. But people pleasing is where you always got a happy face on because you don't want other people's feelings to get hurt. Kelsey said that she's unsure of what to expect in her life. After 10 years, she left her ex and he's still paying for things in her life. Pays for her health insurance, car insurance, rent at her new place. Rosie says, okay, now he's a real sugar daddy. But before, when they lived together, at least she could really say that he's the boyfriend because they live together. That was honest. That was cute. I also appreciate Kelsey again for being honest as well then. Alicia says that her father left them homeless because he just kind of got up and left one day. And Liz, I feel like Liz is annoyed with Alicia because she's like, that's a stretch. You were never homeless. You have a big family. They would never leave you to be homeless. I mean, if that's how Alicia perceives that time in her life, then her perception and her feelings are valid. But also, Liz is trying to make her not appear as being so privileged and to be like entitled to say things like that, which, you know, probably from a friend point of view makes sense, but you can tell Liz is a bit annoyed. Kelsey then says that she appreciates that Rosie was being honest, and Kelsey says that she's been in the pageant world and she knows a fake girl when she sees one. Again, they're the same Kelsey and Rosie are the same person. Some people on socials can't even tell them apart. Think Pinky and Angela. Okay? Both gorgeous, ex-pageant girls. I'm talking about Kelsey and Rosie right now. I'm just saying, think Pinky and Angela, same person, clash so quick and fast. Rosie and Kelsey, both gorgeous, ex-pageant girls. It's always the ones who are so similar and alike, personality-wise, they always butt heads initially, you know? Anyways, Rosie didn't really know how to, handle that conversation, but afterwards, Kelsey walks by and hears Rosie talking to Ashley, so Kelsey comes into the room to kind of, see what they're talking about because she heard her name. She says that Rosie lied about the square footage of her house. Now, I'm kind of curious about why this bothers Kelsey so much. I love Kelsey. I'm just unsure of where this line of questioning is coming from. I love what Rosie said. She said, just because I'm not saying what you want to hear doesn't make it untrue. And that was honestly perfectly said. Not just for her situation, but for anyone who's being questioned and after exposing themselves are continuously being called liars. Like, it might not be the answer that you want to hear, but it doesn't mean that my answer is untrue. And if Kelsey still wants to believe what she wants to believe, then that's her prerogative, right? Now we get into episode 7. They wake up the next morning. Again, it's similar. It's like a mirror image of Atlanta, right? At breakfast, Rosie announced that she had been throwing up all night. She says that she's sick of Kelsey's bullshit in the confessional. Ha ha, funny. But she's barely ate and barely drank, so she feels like she might be catching a cold, I think, getting sick that way. For the day, Alicia has a big water slide planned. That was fun. Then they start talking about Rosie and Kelsey again. And I'm kind of team Rosie because as much as I love Kelsey, honestly, who gives a fuck about their white lies that Rosie says? Because it really doesn't affect you or anybody. Like, lying about square footage in her house doesn't really affect anyone. It's like a little white lie, It was kind of like, and I love Katie, but like, I think in Orange County I'm referring to, Katie was saying some stuff and they're like, who cares about the white lies? Like, it doesn't matter. Let them be white lies. If it doesn't bother anybody, who cares? Because apparently she was lying about everything. If they're lies that pertain to her, sure, but if it's not, who cares? If Rosie is a people pleaser, just allow her to be that way. If she says, yeah, 7,000 to somebody because she doesn't want to correct them, let her just be that way. Unless it directly affects you, like, who cares? Regardless, they kind of encourage Kelsey to go talk to Rosie. Kelsey goes and talks to Rosie and says, I don't know you well enough to know how to interact with you. And I think that was nice and clearly communicated about how she felt. Like, that was great, Kelsey. One single thing that I really cannot handle about Rosie is how she never really directly looks at Kelsey when she's talking to her. And I feel like that's why it might seem like she's being a little bit fake. Because she's kind of like throwing digs, but not looking at Kelsey, who's in the room. She's looking at everybody else throwing the digs. It's like, Kelsey's right in front of you. You don't need to throw the digs. You can just talk to her directly. It's kind of giving passive aggressive. Okay? And that's a term. It's not just aggressive alone. After their conversation, I also think Kelsey really wants to be friends with Rosie and form a connection. And I think maybe that's where a little bit of the hostility towards her things that she says comes from. But Rosie is a bit standoffish, so Kelsey becomes more defensive because now she feels a slight form of rejection and it becomes this never-ending cycle where they're kind of going back and forth to each other. That's just my analogy of it. Some people feel rejection more than others, and Kelsey is already saying that she feels a lot more lonely. She's all alone in this big house and she has nothing to do and she just feels very alone a lot of the times. And then you have Rosie, who's kind of, from what we see, has a man and a full life. They're renovating, they're doing this, they're traveling, and like, all Kelsey wanted to do was be close to Rosie, and Rosie's kind of, it's giving when Teresa really wanted to be close to Melissa, when Melissa first married Joe, because Teresa had no sisters, but Melissa has 2 sisters and a huge family, so Melissa kind of didn't see Teresa trying to forge that connection because she already has 2 other sisters. She didn't realize I need to have another sister in that way that Teresa probably saw it, I always connect it back like that. Like, so maybe she just feels the rejection from Rosie. She'll probably never admit it. And I do love Kelsey. She's one of my top 3s, but I'm just saying, like, I think there's a rejection there that is making her feel a little bit like, oh, well, you're saying this, but how come you're not actually doing it? And like, oh, so it kind of circles back to how come she's not accepted by Rosie, Hopefully I find a better way to input it into the future. Anyways, Ashley's crying. I hope she's okay. I'm not sure how postpartum she is, but I'm hoping she'll figure out what it is and work through it. I think part of it is like Ashley's one of those people that always wants to be with her kids. And like for the first time, she's taking these trips. She's working. Before she's kind of been influencer, and now it's a different type of job where she has to get away from the fam. And she's really not used to that, you know? And on top of that, her son is a bit sick. And whenever he's sick, apparently he has labored breathing. And so her mother-in-law is with him, plus a nanny's there, plus the husband's there. But she's the mom. She's always going to have this kind of mom guilt / I should be there. There's a moment where Joellen and Alicia talk about their childhoods, and Joellen doesn't understand why her mom sent her away to schools with addicts, rapists, murderers. Actually, the first time she was sent away to these behavioral schools was in grade 7. She was sent to a rehab. And after a week, they sent her home because she had no business being there. That's so sad, honestly. And Alicia talks about a child and how her father abandoned them. And it's just so interesting to see that every single person will have a trauma about their childhood. And whether the parents intended to do it or not, some is intentional put on them, some is unintentional. But everyone is going to grow up away thinking that like their childhood should have been a different way. And some are justified and some is just because as an individual, that's not the way that you would have handled that situation, you know? But sometimes we got to look back and be like, that's the best that they knew how, our parents, and forgive them. And if you don't want to forgive them, then you don't. But, you know, you've built this beautiful life for yourself now. So that's to say something. The group finds out that Rula is sick, so obviously she's not going to the girls' trip to Newport. And you see Brian bringing her breakfast in bed. Great, Brian. That's fabulous. Now let's see how you do with the camera off. Do you do the same? Now I'm from Vancouver, okay? And there's a book from one of my favorite doctors. He's an author as well. His name is Dr. Gabor Mate. And he has ADHD. And he writes books about addiction and ADHD and stress on the body. When there's been trauma in your life and you don't express it or you have a tendency to keep it in, it turns to disease in the body. Disease, like any type of stress. It could turn to sickness, disease, or even pain. And is this not starting to feel and look like what Rula is experiencing? All of a sudden she has all these cycles of pain. She needs to go to the ER. Could it not be all the stress that she's feeling in her life that's now starting to appear in her body? Ashley has to leave the trip early because she finds out that her son was taken to the hospital, and when he gets sick again, he has this labored breathing. And so I think that part of her tears and her emotional kind of outbursts are from maybe the guilt of being away from her kids, like I've said. She might not realize that that's what it is, or maybe she does and she just doesn't want to say it, but guaranteed that it has at least 70% to do with it. Then Kelsey brings up that her ex, the judge's son, has had a threesome with Joellen. She's like, you were on a boat and you did it. And Joellen's like, no, that was on land. Now, apparently the judge has a brother. So they're a set of brothers, and Kelsey and Joellen have both slept with them. Because, it was just brought up into the scene. I just thought it was so funny because Joellen's like, well, Kelsey will know. And oh my God, I absolutely love how open and honest that they are about this. And I know that their husbands are watching, and it just shows so much security in the marriage. And I even saw Joellen on Watch What Happens Live, and her husband and sister were the bartenders, and she brought them both. Like, there's just so much security, and I admire that because I don't have that. I think I'm like K. Michelle in Atlanta. Everyone's a cheater. Joellen finds a bad video of Brian and his mistress, and I thought it was a sex video because I'm like, the way that they're reacting. But no, they finally say that it's like a 5-minute time-stamped video of a really long hug. He's like, I have him grabbing her butt and hugging her and kissing her, consoling her. They also go into his car, which has like beige interior, so proof that they were in his car. And it's time-stamped. And it was like 2 days before the polo event. And then one of the girls, I forgot who, they're like, maybe he was saying bye to her, like calling things off, but grabbing her butt and kissing her. And, you know, it would be much more of a colder kind of interaction if he was calling it off. I understand Joellen's frustration. They're making her out to be a liar and delusional and starting shit. So it almost ignites her more to prove that she's not crazy, because I'm the same way. I'm exactly the same. But anyways, I'm excited to see, because it seems like Rhode Island gets pretty crazy. I see that Liz and Alicia get into it. Then Liz and Joellen get into it. Again, strong personalities. So the trigger points and the threshold to trigger each other is a lot less because you just know what to do to each other. You know, the same type of things will trigger you. So I love this franchise. I'm so excited to see more of it, to be honest. And the honesty is kind of encouraging. So now I'm all caught up with all the shows. So moving forward, I'm going to be really up to date with how I post and recap. One thing I just want to go over was the Beverly Hills reunion part 3. And to be honest, I think that it was lackluster. It was all centered around Dorit. And as much as I love Dorit, I think she's missed the mark so much on even like getting her friendship back with Erica. Like, why did she have to be so mean? Like, why couldn't she have like just acknowledged that Erica was hurt and attempt to, move forward? And more so of the time, she was apologizing a lot more to Erica and wanting to make it work with Erica as opposed to Kyle. So that just kind of shows that there was a lot of hurt there with Dorit and Kyle. And it was really just centered around Dorit. And the times that she could have apologized, she didn't. She kind of she was really mean in part 3. And I just want to say that I saw it too. And I can't help but notice that part of it is because she's going through a tough time right now. And even after it, or during that week, and because we know the reunion was filmed a few weeks ago, but the week that, part 3 came out, a lot of things came out in the press about her home going into foreclosure, like officially, and all these text messages between PK and her were released, like 20 pages long. It doesn't give her an excuse to treat people the way that she does, but also, when someone is in that type of headspace, no wonder they have no room to be nice to anybody else. And unfortunately, because of the way that she reacts to these situations, which is to kind of shut down and get mean and take her anger out on the people that are the closest to her or the nearest to her, whether it's like distance proximity or like, emotional proximity, she's burning a lot of bridges right now. And I think maybe they could have been helpful resources and shown her or just kind of been there for her and helped her figure these things out. But if she's in that sort of place, I kind of agree with Erica. Maybe those people kind of just need their alone time, because the more time that you spend with them and the more they treat you bad, it's going to really put you in a resentful state. And then you're really never going to want to be near that person again. So maybe just give it some time. And maybe Dorit is the type of person, because I'm the type of person that when I'm going through something, I don't like people close to me. I kind of like shut down. I'm definitely not mean to people, but I definitely kind of ghost a little bit. I think that's what Dorit needs to do. Stop being mean to the people around you, but just ghost a little bit. If that's what you say, listen, I need my space right now. I'm trying to figure things out. I don't want to be a bad friend. So I'm going to kind of just take my space and take a step back to figure out what the frick is going on in my life. And I will reach out to you when I'm ready. And then the occasional, hey, how's it going? You guys okay? Because during times like this, like going out with your friends, having drinks or whatever, having dinner, going for hikes, getting your mind off things is important too. And if you don't have that, you're just going to be bogged down with all the stress that you're surrounded by, But lackluster. And then I saw that Bravo just came out from the upfronts with their renewals, and I didn't see Beverly Hills on there. Could be perhaps that it just wrapped. And it hasn't been renewed. Could be that there's going to be a little bit of a pause just to kind of, because all the stuff that's on in the press. But that's it. I wonder what's going to replace it in its place. I know a lot of shows are coming out in the summer. May 19th, we have Summer House in the City coming out. But looks like summer, we have shows coming out, but it's just going to be a little more milder than it is perhaps in September when it starts up again. The Bravo machine starts up again. But anyways, pursuers, thank you so much for tuning in to this episode. Again, I'm caught up. We're going to be all caught up moving forward. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, share anywhere you get your podcasts. In the show notes, you will find where there's socials. The podcast does have social media. We're on TikTok. We are on Instagram. We are on Facebook. We're on Threads. We're on X, the Pursuit of Happiness podcast. My personal socials are on there as well. Send me a DM on any of the platforms. I want to hear your feedback. I want to see what you think. I appreciate you guys being here. I appreciate you guys listening. Sometimes I get personal. I appreciate you guys listening through that as well. I appreciate you guys having good conversations on our social media platforms. I'm building a great community because we're always on a pursuit. Life is never a destination. It's always a pursuit. And we are all in the pursuit of happiness. So thank you again. Until next time, pursuers, have a wonderful, wonderful day.